The next one's gonna not just make you cry, but make you laugh. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is Heather Rose, and she's a firecracker and knows how to talk tough to the people who need to hear it.
An open letter to the House of Representatives. Dear House of Representatives, I still can't believe you voted to kill me. What, you thought I was just going to forget about that because it's the Senate's turn to create legislation that threatens my life? And senators aren't even voting for the... Oh, and my senators aren't even voting for the BCRA. Now, if I'm dead, I still can't vote against you again, I guess? But still, even with half a heart, I can tell that's a supervillain level tactic. Or maybe you're not supervillains. Maybe you just forgot about me. It's not uncommon. People who make super heavy doors forget about me. People who design parking lots forget about me. People who don't check before backing into elevators with racks of clothing in department stores forget about me. People who forget it's possible to sometimes need a wheelchair, but not like all the time, definitionally forget about me. I was born with multiple heart defects. Yeah, that half-heart comment earlier, that was literal. Fortunately, I was born to a financially stable family with good health coverage, but I'm 25 now and won't be able to be on their policies soon, and my future will likely involve at least one of the top 10 most expensive medical procedures. And when those procedures come around, you can bet I won't be in any shape to be employed, so who will I have to depend on for insurance? You guys. The people who think the $8 billion added to a high-risk insurance pool actually means something. People for whom that $8 billion was enough to sway their votes. Even with the insurance now, I have to argue for coverage of certain tests that, according to them, don't have proven benefits. That's because heart monitors aren't for curing. They're for identifying potential problems, you bureaucratic mosquitoes. Also, you can't cure not having a right ventricle in the first place. One of my soapboxes relates to how oftentimes it seems that those who design buildings see the ADA requirements and not the people. Looking at you, Logan's Roadhouse Grill in Caledonia. And the problem is, the people designing things like ramps and department store layouts don't spend much time thinking about how certain flooring is, for all intents and purposes, impassable for manual wheelchairs. And now, it turns out that you guys, the people who developed this healthcare bill, got caught up seeing the expenses and not the people behind them. I'm going to use a buzzword that I'm sure several of you representatives are sick of hearing, and that's privilege. The world is built by the able-bodied, for the able-bodied. Not being dependent on some Target employee remembering to plug in a motorized cart to be able to go shopping. Not being limited to only one bathroom stall that, on occasion, has a teenager crying in it. Having health costs that don't reoccur on a bi-weekly basis for your entire life, these are lovely, nice things. Not everyone gets to have growth. Yeah. And to certain those books who, yeah, I'm still upset about you, being able to have a healthy body purely from making healthy choices, that's a privilege too. Wishing you all the best, Heather. P.S. Justin, it's not exactly an even trade, but you vote to kill me, I vote to make you unemployed. Hope that sounds good. An open letter to the Senate. Yeah. Dear Senate, back in May, I asked for you to please don't vote to kill me. I'd really appreciate it. Please note, I did not say, please, don't vote for the AHCA, but, feel free to do whatever else. I didn't think I'd really need to explain this whole don't kill me thing, but here we go. Michigan currently has 73% of its Medicaid funding provided by the federal government, and is set to lead the Medicaid expansion if that funding decreases. So, your whole, maybe if we get rid of funding slowly, people will forget it's our fault scheme, isn't flying here. And sure, maybe our state should focus on taking better care of its citizens, but before you act like that's a given, let me direct you to the contaminated water world that is Flint. That's right. Yeah! But, with the exception of Ted Cruz, you guys don't want to mess with pre-existing conditions, right? And disability is still a thing, right? So why am I complaining? Here's the thing about Social Security's definition of disability. It's different from all other legal definitions of disability. The discrepancy between these definitions is where I find myself in the lurch, that and disability having a 2-year waiting period to get onto it. See, like I told the House of Representatives, I'm 25, so next year I'm going to get kicked off my parents' plan. So if I don't manage to get a full-time job with benefits soon, or married to someone who does, I guess, my main option is going to be Medicaid. See, I'm disabled, sure, but I can still work. I can, to quote some job applications I've filled out recently, perform the job requirements with or without accommodation. But echocardiograms are $2,000, and paying for that along with all the other medical tests I need annually to make sure I'm not dying faster than expected falls under the with accommodation category. Fun fact! That question about whether or not someone can perform the job requirements when on job applications is actually in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which makes it illegal. The more you know. I keep hearing the justification that we should defund Medicaid because it has problems, but that's not how things get fixed. I have problems, and my condition is just going to keep getting worse, probably until I die. But I hope, though the legislation suggests otherwise, that the plan isn't just to have me die as quickly as possible. Yes, me and my support group of heart defect sufferer friends have running bets on who's going to die first, but that's the kind of joke we can make. It's not like we mean it as a challenge. Yeah, there's not a cure or solution to my health problems, but I still work to make my body as functional as possible. Of course, there could be a solution if you dedicated more than a fraction of a percent to medical research funding towards congenital heart defects, which impact 1 in 100 births and is the #1 birth defect, but that's its own separate issue. But the point is, when you're faced with something that has problems, you should work to address those problems. You should love it or hate it, but the Affordable Care Act solved problems. The Medicaid expansion solved problems. They're not perfect, but they're something. For all of those who need coverage but will lose it, for all the imperfect but beneficial policy that's already in place, I beg you, don't abandon us just because we have problems. Do something to fix it. Oh, and please, 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 please don't vote to kill me. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, thanks. Heather.
Relate to some of that, but thank God not all of it. Thanks, Heather.